Anyone who tries to learn jazz guitar ends up having to struggle with the ability to kind of improvise coherent phrases and kind of make things sound good. There's lots of things that you have to deal with. There's quick moving chords, there's arpeggios, there's scales, there's all this stuff to work on. So in today's video, I want to share with you one of the things that was taught to me by the great jazz guitarist Peter Bernstein. And this tip is one of the easiest ways to getting into good, coherent, and really nice sounding jazz guitar solos. So this simple tip is actually using the melody to improvise. When it comes to soloing on the guitar, especially over a jazz standard, there are so many different ways you can approach it. There's scales, there's arpeggios, and there's all these things. But by using the melody actually as our muse, it gives us a bulletproof way of making the changes while also staying kind of on topic. So to quickly demonstrate what I mean before I give you some more practical ways that you can work with this, what I want to do is I'm going to play you the first little bit of All the Things You Are so that you can hear the melody, and then I'm going to play you a quick little improvised solo using the melody kind of as my food for thought, if you will. So the melody to this beautiful song goes like this. That's probably enough to make my point so far. So here is me improvising a solo. Let's say the band's kind of played it around, or the backing track, I've played my melody, and now it's my turn to solo. Here's me taking another stab at that. So. So there, what I was doing, again, hopefully you could hear that the melody was still present. And so the first thing that I think this does that's absolutely huge for us as improvisers and when we're learning how to improvise over jazz standards is if you're playing the melody and you're trying to kind of decorate notes from the melody, it basically guarantees you that you'll be playing good sounding notes, right? It's the melody of the song. It's going to sound good over the chords that are there. So that is kind of tip number one as to why this is good. And then reason number two this is so good, Peter Bernstein, when he was telling me about this in a lesson, he was saying that you're playing the tune, you're staying on topic, rather than just saying something completely unrelated. I remember when I had this guitar lesson with him when I was, I think, 19, he was mentioning that I was playing a bunch of good notes, but he was like, what the hell does that have to do with the tune that we're playing? And he was right, it didn't. I was looking at these jazz standards kind of like how many people kind of come to learn them, right? You look up jazz guitar, how to play burning jazz guitar solos, and it says, 2-5-1 licks, bebop licks. Check out Bird and what he played on it. And while that's all great, if it's not related to the tune, you're just kind of saying things. You're like the crazy uncle at Thanksgiving who brings up crazy conspiracy theories that are unrelated to anything anyone was talking about at the dinner table. And so when you use the melody as kind of a through line for this, it gives you something to build off of, and it keeps the listener engaged because they can hear the song, they can hear the kind of through line, and they can hear the context for what you're playing. So if I was to break down kind of what I was doing and thinking there, I was mostly just playing, so this tune, if you're unfamiliar, is in the key of A flat. So mostly what I'm doing is I'm taking my melody and I'm looking for other notes around it that fit that chord or are from the key of A flat. So I think I did something like, that was just a simple little enclosure idea around that first note of the melody, which is A flat here on my B string. And I went, which is just B flat, which is the next note of the scale, G, which is back down to A flat, then I went down to G, then I came back to A flat, and then I played D flat, which is the note of the melody when the chord changes to B flat minor there. So just by using those simple things, a good thing to do can just be find some notes above and below the note that you're going for. So then say, there's some other little ideas where I'm mostly just using the through line of the melody. So one more time, the melody would sound like this. playing over that same section, just trying to kind of elaborate on it a little bit. And I'll just use a couple neighboring notes. I'll try to keep it super simple. And then it goes to the bridge and it keeps going. But by using that melody, I'm keeping myself kind of constrained to this. Another great strategy that you can use is use your knowledge if you have some, bebop licks, or if you have some 2/5s under your fingers. You can use this to try and kind of end around the melody, or you can alternate between playing something that's very related to the melody and something that might be a more kind of jazz lick. Because again, licks are a part of playing this music. It's very, very common to hear licks, 2/5 licks, other kinds of licks, and you can intersperse this with your kind of derived from the melody playing, and that'll give you a lot of really, really good ideas. So for example, that might sound like this. Here's it again. I was kind of mixing some kind of more lick-based vocabulary with my already kind of melodic playing. The second thing that this does really, really well, and I encourage you to try, is try to just elaborate if you're having trouble getting into this. And this is just good advice for starting your solo anyways. One thing that I see a lot of my students do is they try to play a million notes right out of the bat, right out of the gates. They just go, I'm going to play a ton of notes, I'm going to play all my arpeggios, and it ends up sounding like... And that's not super musical. So one thing that you can do is if you try to think of just adding 1 or 2 notes to the melody, maybe playing with the rhythm, it can actually get you into playing much more interesting ideas than if you were just kind of, playing the melody or just playing too many notes. So that might sound like this. I'm going to try to do this super, super simple. I'm going to play only 2 maybe notes outside of the melody, and I'm going to play with the rhythm especially so that I can keep this kind of interesting. Sometimes thinking about less or working with less material will actually lead you to play more interesting stuff because it's not necessarily going to be super busy, and it lets you get a little more creative with it. So, by doing that, just thinking about less, again, you have this through line through the melody. You have a simple little thing to play with, rather than going, oh God, here's an F minor lick, here's a B flat minor lick, here's an E flat 7 lick. It just kind of simplifies your stuff. And again, the biggest thing that it does is it keeps you kind of on topic. That was something that Peter, I've fortunately had many lessons with Peter. He's a wonderful educator and a wonderful player, of course. But that was the thing that I really took away from the first lesson I ever took with him, was he said, you're playing good notes, but you're not really saying much, and I don't know, if I took it away, I wouldn't know what tune we were even playing. So don't forget the tune. Use the melody for inspiration and ideas. The odds of you coming up with something better than the melody of all the things you are is, depending on where you are in your journey, maybe not the most realistic thing. And again, as you get more and more comfortable with this, it gives you more opportunities to kind of respond to yourself. And if you hear it go out on a branch, you can go. But rather than trying to just jump in playing as many notes as you can, this will often lead to more concise and better sounding guitar solos. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you can like and subscribe. It truly helps me out more than you can know. If you would like to take a guitar lesson with me, there's a link to get in touch with me down in the description. I'd love to work with you on whatever's troubling you on the guitar. If you're looking for a way to support me and what I'm up to here on the channel, you can check out my Patreon page, linked down in the description. All of my patrons get early access to videos as well as cool behind the scenes sneak peeks that I don't share anywhere else, and it's also just a wonderful little community of guitar lovers, so I'd love to see you over there. Another great way to support me and what I'm up to is to check out my ebooks and my video courses linked down in the description. It's a great way to get some more in-depth educational content from me that I can go into in a 10 to 15 minute YouTube video. And last but not least, I have new videos coming out every single Monday and Thursday, so I hope I'll see you in the next one. And until I do, I wish you a wonderful day, and I hope you have some fun playing the guitar. Thanks.